I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. This video is part of a larger series of videos that we've done here at the MeidasTouch Network exposing how there is a mass exodus taking place of people who were previously Republicans or people who are independents or people not affiliated with any political parties who are making a mass exodus away from the modern Republican Party, the MAGA Republican Party. The MAGA Republican Party is too extreme, is too radical, is fascist, is weird, is trying to undermine and harm our country, hurt our allies, hurt our standing abroad, supporting dictators abroad like Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin. And the current Republican Party is not the Republican Party it ever used to be. And so we highlight the stories here of people making this mass exodus away from the MAGA Republican Party. So if you have a story, whether you have made the exodus away from the MAGA Republican Party, or if you know somebody, a neighbor, a friend, a coworker, a colleague, a neighbor, someone that you know, share your story in the comments below. Let's get the discussion going, and make sure you share this video as well with people who are considering leaving the MAGA Republican Party. Share this with, if you have a friend or family member or someone that you know who's in the MAGA party, send this to them and show them that there is a way out. And in fact, there is an exhausted majority, most Americans who love our country. We are pro-democracy. We love our Constitution. We want to work to always improve our country, but we support our institutions. We support our Constitution. We are not out there praising people like Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un who want to hurt our country. And you know what? We don't go to these weird rallies. We want to spend time with our family and going to the movies and making a good dinner and just spending time doing hobbies and things that we like to do, and just go on about our lives in a normal way without having people scream and spitting at you and yelling about pronouns or whatever it is that the MAGA Republican Party's doing right now. We just want to be nice to people. We want to be positive. We want to be compassionate, and we really care about our country. So let me share some of these stories with you. And if these stories resonate with you and you have your own example, share it below. David writes, when I voted for Trump in 2016, I felt nauseous, but I hoped that he would surround himself with good people that he would listen to. I was wrong, and I apologize to America. I didn't vote for him in 2020, and I hope that he gets prison time with his MAGA insurrectionists. Joseph Cardoso writes, I was a Republican until Trump was nominated for president in the Republican Party. I left the Republican Party for Independent Party, then went to Democrat Party to vote in the primary. I knew what Trump was and saw it a mile away. After January 6th, I swore I'd never vote another Republican again, and I won't. I thank Trump for that. I've let my local leaders know as well. When I went to a meet and greet in York, Pennsylvania with Fetterman and Shapiro, I made sure I told them my story as well. I used to donate to the Republican Party as well. Now they'll never get another dime for me. Rob Swan writes, I used to vote for candidates from both political parties, no more. I vote 100% Democrat. I was a Reagan Democrat during the 1980s. I will never, ever vote Republican again. Patricia Murfitt writes, myself and her children had to talk my sister into voting for Biden, and they laughed at Paul Pelosi. After they laughed at Paul Pelosi being hurt, she said that she would never vote Republican again for the rest of her life. Mission accomplished. I mean, look, you have MAGA Republicans laughing at Paul Pelosi for being attacked and nearly killed, because it seems that for MAGA Republicans, it's just about let's own the libs, even if that means destroying our country. And at the same time, you have Democrats who are just focused on healthcare, education, infrastructure, jobs, protecting a woman's freedom over her body, letting people marry who want to marry without the government intervening and saying you can't marry these people. I mean, there's some real hateful stuff going on right now in the MAGA extremist movement, just so negative, so fascist, and frankly, so weird and bizarre. Bike66 writes, my wife and I are registered independents. I can't speak for her voting record, but my prior votes went about 60% Republican. I'm proud to say I didn't vote for Donald Trump in either election, but in November, neither of us voted for any Republican. Until the Republican Party abandons the insanity we see from CPAC-style rallies, they will never be able to count on my vote again. I mean, at the last CPAC rally, they had a sign bragging, we are all domestic terrorists, and then they had a booth where they had an individual who was actually an insurrectionist who pled guilty, who was in this booth where they made this makeshift jail, and they dressed him up like a prisoner. And then the MAGA Republican politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene would sit on their knees and kiss his fingers and call individuals who were insurrectionists political prisoners and demand the release of people who attacked and tried to kill police officers, people who attacked people like Officer Fanone, caused him a heart attack, people who urinated in the Capitol building and defecated in the Capitol building, people who tried to kill lawmakers on January 6th, being celebrated at CPAC conventions. Look, that's not conservative. That's why the media needs to stop using the labels liberal and conservative. It's not a conservative idea to be an election denier. It's not a conservative idea to be for QAnon cult and believe in things like JFK Jr. is actually alive and JFK is alive and they're going to come back. I mean, these conspiracies are horrific. The conspiracy that Donald Trump is going to engage in mass public executions and overthrow the government on live TV. That's what they mean when they say the storm is coming. You know, praising insurrectionists, spreading conspiracies about global pandemics. I mean, all of these things, I'm sorry, that's not a conservative idea. Demanding the termination of the United States Constitution, just because they call themselves conservative, I mean, they are extremists and radicals, and we need to call it out what it is. Let's call a spade a spade. Anita E. writes, I moved to Pennsylvania from Florida a year ago. My new neighbors across the street in their 70s had a huge Trump 2024 flag up the entire last year. I don't know if it was the 17 felony convictions of Trump or Trump's call for the termination of the Constitution, but the flag disappeared 3 weeks ago. Wish I knew more, but it's a relief that it's gone. Aaron Helmbuck writes, I was able to help my veteran friend escape the Trump of cult with this one line. You cannot fight for Donald Trump. You've already sold your loyalty to the United States, and no man can serve two masters. G.E. Schwartz writes, I've been a Republican all my life. I'm 64. I was an early supporter of Trump in 2016 for 4 days. I immediately realized that he was much too immature to be the president of the United States. I knew that things would get really bad if he was president. I didn't know what that would really look like. People, we need to vote on character, integrity, maturity, and empathy. We need to vote not for what is good for yourself, but what is good for the greater good. Ask not what the country can do for you, but what you can do for the country. All of the Christian MAGA are liars. They do not follow Jesus at all. Thank you for sharing. Kim writes, I have voted Republican and Democrat in the past elections. Now I vote straight blue. Republicans are way too crazy for my taste. Jacob Graber writes, I have a relatively conservative friend who I talk to almost daily. We live in Arizona. The final straw for him is when the Republicans started announcing that they would win before the elections and making it very clear they would not accept a loss. He thankfully sees that as explicit confirmation that those candidates should never be given the opportunity of power. Michael Priest writes, I was an independent most of my life and voted person, not party, but Trump and his MAGA movement cured me of that. I now vote Democrat all the way down the ticket. AK at the Lake writes, as an independent, I have voted both parties, but not since 2016. I will never vote for a Republican again. I knew that when Trump was a crook and have voted straight blue since 2016. Rich Anderson writes, I'm an independent voter and I voted in every election since 1968. and split my vote for the best person running for office. I didn't vote for Trump in 2016 and 2020, but after January 6th, I was sickened by the Republicans all over the country and in my state. I no longer feel I can or will vote for any Republican ever again. I still feel I am an independent, but with only one choice to vote for, Democrat. I doubt the Republican Party has fully comprehended the impact of the MAGA movement on their party, and I hope they disappear as a political party totally. In the future, we will see what emerges in the political system in this country, and I may be able to vote something else than Democrat again, but I will vote until they pry the ballot pen away from my cold, dead fingers. Lola Del Rio writes, I didn't register to vote until Trumpty Dumpty was elected. Now that I know who the political crazies are, I'll continue to vote Democrat. I can't vote for crazy or stupid. MAGA leads both in those categories. Oriana Lant writes, my mom watched Fox News exclusively for years. Believed everything. I started sending her videos from other sources. Lately, she's been more open-minded and asking for info. She told me she voted blue in the midterms. And I'll leave you with that comment by Oriana Lant, because what it talks about is what we say here on there, what it speaks of is what we say here on the MeidasTouch network, which is it is important to combat the disinformation with the truth. What we're trying to build here at the MeidasTouch network is a safe space, a space where we can promote positivity, compassion, respect for all human beings, and to really care about our country and to spread these messages, because the large media networks are just doing the both sides. They're saying, here's what a liberal is, here's what a conservative is, and they're calling this extremism and this fascism conservatism when it's not conservatism. Even though if you lined up my views, I probably would line up to be more liberal or progressive. I consider myself to be far more conservative than people like Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz and Kevin McCarthy and all of these MAGA extremists. I believe in conserving our Constitution. I don't believe in terminating our Constitution, which MAGA Republicans are okay with. I don't believe in election denialism. I believe if there is a global pandemic, we should take all steps possible to try to save people's lives and not spread conspiracies that are going to kill and harm people, which is what MAGA extremists do. I believe in infrastructure. I believe in bringing jobs here to the United States of America. And that's why I think there is this big tent pro-democracy coalition, and I don't think these labels hold. And in this pro-democracy coalition, there are people who are former Republicans or maybe still call themselves Republican, but not the MAGA Republicans who are the ones in power in the Republican Party, and independents and people not affiliated with political parties. And look, do I agree with Democrats all the time? No, it would be weird if I agree with them all the time. And there's lots of issues. I think there could be disagreements, especially on the methods of how to accomplish certain things. But ultimately, I know that there are adults in the room, and I know on issues that matter to the American people, like jobs, better paying jobs, as Republicans vote against raising the minimum wage, Democrats are out there fighting to make sure that people who work hard should get paid what they deserve. Not a minimum wage, not just even a living wage, but a wage with dignity, improving working conditions and focusing on health care and making sure that people have access to health care and that health care is more affordable and prescription drug prices are decreased, and making sure people have access to education, and making sure a woman's right over her body is protected and not taken away by MAGA Republicans, which it is, and protecting people's right to love who they love. These are things that are important, and these are things I think we should all be rallying around. And on the other hand, you got MAGA Republicans who are calling insurrectionists political prisoners, and they're yelling about pronouns, and they're talking about Hunter Biden's laptop, and they're talking about all these conspiracy theories, and they're praising QAnon, and they're doing this weird cult stuff with Donald Trump, and you got Trump using all these capital letters and screaming and yelling, ranting and raving on his social media platform, which Republicans are okay with. You got people like George Santos, who's now like the face of the Republican Party. They embrace that. They just lie about every single thing imaginable. But It's part of it. You know, when Donald Trump lies about everything, he's got a bank account in China when he lies that he doesn't. He's pays no money in taxes, $0 in taxes. I mean, that's what's going to happen when you have that type of lack of leadership and fascist tendencies. But make sure you share your story. Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. So please share your story if you have one like this, and make sure you hope you had a very happy New Year's, and look forward to doing more videos in the future with y'all, and thank y'all for your support. I'm Ben Meiselas. Until next time, hit the subscribe button right now. It is free to subscribe, and check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. You'll love the exclusive content there. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch.
Our blue wall stopped the red wave, and election deniers got denied election. That's why we're celebrating with the new Democracy Prevails team. We've got lots of work to do, but we should all be proud that when democracy was tested, democracy prevailed. You've earned this. Don't wait. Get yours right now at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.